Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue en Pendu dans le Cercle de Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my response video to the larger video of the week. Now, these days I'm doing a deep dive into the Lenormand system, and I'm doing that deep dive for a year. And so I've done my larger Lenormand spread with count them, one deck this time. Yeah, that's unusual for me. It's almost unheard of that Derek John Thomas has done a spread with only one deck, but I have. And I'm going to continue doing one deck spreads for the rest of the Lenormand deep dive, I think. Stay tuned and keep your eye out. Find out. But this is my response to that video. So, just in case you have not seen that video, I'm going to put a card up here so that you can hop on over, watch that video, and then come back. Because these cards are going to be read in response to that spread. Because the question that I ask every week for this response video is, what is the central message from that spread? So for this year, the question is, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand spread? So I'm reading these cards in response to that very intriguing spread. And just in case you have seen that spread, and you saw it in bits or pieces and you'd like a brief review, or maybe it's been a while, the title to that video was What We Want to Do When Things Are Going Well. Yeah, what we want to do when things are going well. And basically that spread was reminding us that when things are going well, we still want to be aware, right? We don't need to be defensive. We don't want to be, the slave to anxiety. We don't want to go unconscious in blissed out unconsciousness either. We want to be aware. Riding the wave of good fortune, if you will, riding the wave of good fortune, we want to be aware of how we are behaving in the world and what we are passing or what is coming towards us as we move forward on this wave of good stuff, yeah? Because as we move forward, we're going to see things that we don't like. And those things that we don't like are a good thing because they are what help us to make better, more specific, more diverse, could be both, more specific and more diverse choices, which expands our potential on the powerful current of our intention moving forward. The more stuff we will put on that current. If we know more stuff that we don't want, we know more stuff that we do want. And we will place those things out on our path of evolution and flow towards them as quickly or as smoothly as we are open to the power of intention. So friends, we want to be aware. We don't need to be scared. We don't want to be nervous. We don't want to be paranoid, but we don't want to be to go unconscious, even in blissed out unconsciousness. We don't want to go unconscious. We want to be aware. That was the basic idea, I think. And so this spread that we're about to see is going to be in response to that. But before we look at that spread, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to all of you who hit the thumbs up button, who subscribe to the channel, who comment below. All of you are a blessing to the world. Now, it might sound like I'm going overboard here, but you are a blessing to the world. Because, why? Because your actions, those small actions that you do, tell YouTube that maybe other people would be interested in joining this group who are watching and participating in the content of this channel. And so more people get a chance to see this channel and these videos. And then they get the choice to join with us or to let it go by. So you are a blessing to all of those people. And thank you for doing that for everyone. Also, just in case you're interested in having a reading buy me a personal reading, I'll put the QR code to my shop at the end of this video. And there will also be a web address to my shop in the description box below. It's really simple. Look it down there, or wait for the QR code to come at the end, and you can scan that QR code with your phone if you have a separate device, and hop on over and take a look at my shop, see what you're interested in, order a reading if you want. Blessings on all. Yes? Okay. So, friends, I've got a new deck for us that is the main tarot deck to look at. But first what I'll do is I'll show you the whole spread. Then we'll talk about the decks, the cards, and then we will break the spread up into its two major components and read those components together. Are you all ready, friends? Well, here is the spread right now. Friends, what do you think of those two decks? Now, in case you are new here, what you saw above were 3 cards from a Tarot de Marseille style deck, and then the 3 cards below are from an Oracle deck. Now, the Oracle deck is called the Cercle de Lune. It's a little difficult to find in the United States, but I will have a link in the description box below to Amazon France, and you can order it from Amazon France and it will deliver to you wherever you are in the world. I ordered mine in Korea, and you can order yours to the United States or to anywhere else, well, to France, of course, but to anywhere else in the world. You can order from Amazon France. And I'm very happy that I ordered this deck. The book you can get, I think, anywhere in the world locally. The deck, unfortunately, I think you need to order from Amazon France. But I'm glad to have both of them because I've used this deck a lot, especially with Tarot de Marseille. And I think it works wonderfully with Tarot de Marseille because you can see the visual similarities because they're both wood block print style decks, Tarot de Marseille and this Oracle. Also, you can add a little bit of astrology into your TDM Tarot de Marseille readings as well. So that's kind of fun, I think. So that's why I like using them together, and that's the Oracle. Now the Oracle will give us a little bit more detailed information about the cards above, and those 3 cards above are from a tarot deck called the Gerard Boudet. It is from, I think, the 17th century, which means the 1600s. It's I don't have the original deck, of course. The facsimile reproduction is done by Sullivan Hessman, and I think they're the only ones who have a reproduction of this deck. So I will put a link to their shop in the description box below as well. Now, an interesting thing about this deck is that it has a lot of echoes to the Jean Vivet deck, which is a little bit of a mess to look at if you look at a facsimile, but Artisan Tarot has a cleaned up version of that deck. And I mean, it's not as much of a mess as like the Tarot de Paris, which the images, it's really hard for me to see what I'm looking at in a bunch of the cards because the image just looks like a cubist fractal mess to me in a lot of places, but it's a wonderful deck to use. I use it. I just know it's a little difficult for me to see what's going on. Not so in this deck. Although there are, again, a lot of echoes between this deck and especially the Jacques Vievy. So, Jean Vievy? Well, anyways, not important. This deck is important. If you want to get this deck, there will be a link. Okay, so we'll now do what? We're going to read the tarot cards first. And then we'll look at the Oracle cards and how they interact with the tarot cards above them. Okay? So friends, first step, let me show you those 3 tarot cards up close and personal once more. Here they are. Friends, those were the cards, and I just double checked. The date of the reproduction the date of the deck this reproduction was created from was 1693. And it's from Brussels. There's a Brussels pattern that this is based on. And so we have this wonderful Gerard Baudet deck to work with. And you saw from left to right, we had the Wheel of Fortune, okay, so let me call it card 13 and we'll get back to that. Card 13 and then the 3 of coins, right? Now, because, what do I want to say? Yes, because the figure in card 13 is looking toward the right, no, towards the left, I should say, towards the left. Huh? Okay, just a second. So, I'm spatial. You see things differently from me. So, this is your left, this is your right, right? So, the figure in the center is looking this way, yes? And this card is looking at this card, and the figure here at the top is looking this way. So I don't get a real sense of which direction we need to read this series of 3 cards in. And so I'm going to read from left to right, yes? Because the figure at the top of the wheel is looking to the right. The figure in the death card is looking to the left. So, yeah, just read to the left, yeah? So we're going to start from the left. I'm sorry, we're going to read to the right. So let's start with the left, okay? Again, like I said, this is my right, this is your left. This is my left, this is your right. Anyways, so I'm just confusing myself. We'll start off with the Wheel of Fortune. Here's the Wheel of Fortune again. Lovely card, right? You see the figure at the top is looking in the direction of the right, to the right, where the card 13 exists. And the Wheel of Fortune is what? It cycles, right? The wheel turns. It's fate. You notice that in this rendition of the card, there only seem to be 2 clear figures. There's the being at the top of the wheel, and there's a being that looks like it might, and it's so weird, it looks like this figure's hand seems to be on the axle of the wheel, and it might be that figure is coming up, maybe, or maybe the figure is going down. Is this thing up here that figure's body, or is it something else? It's really hard to tell. So, we still get the idea of cycles, right? It could be fate, it could be chance or luck. We get the idea of changes, but also repetitions. Yeah, things coming back up repeatedly over time. We get the idea of the end of a cycle, perhaps, or a new departure. Now, changes of fortune are possible here. It could be a rise after a fall. It could be adapting to fortune as well. So when I think of the previous spread, this week, we had that idea of luck appearing, that we've got a turn of good fortune perhaps, or things going well. And so this card seems to be representing that half of the 7-card spread, right? The things going well, but also that there could be habitual patterns that we might notice arise because we're giving so much attention to what's going well that we might not notice as quickly when some negative patterns arise within us, right? We're not really controlling our behavior as we might normally do otherwise because we feel everything's going well, right? Things are turning out well. I feel there's good fortune in the air. I feel good synchronicities happening. So I'm giving my attention all to that, which is wonderful, but I'm not giving attention as I normally do to my reactivity, my patterns of negative behavior, which are still perhaps down there and rearing their ugly or not so ugly heads. So there's also that indicated here as well, right? Things coming back up. Like after eating a big meal, things coming back up. A little bit of acid reflux, maybe. Rising. Perhaps we felt like we have fallen in the past and we're back coming back to the top of the wheel or the top of the wave, as I described in the previous video. We might be feeling like we're coming to the top of the wheel, but we still want to know that other things might be coming up as well, right? And so we get the next card, which is traditionally called card 13. This is traditionally, in most Terre de Marseille decks, the unnamed card. Whereas the Fool is the unnumbered card. It's not 0 in the original decks. It has no number. The Fool, le mat, right? Here, this card is typically an unnamed card 13. However, do you see the name in this one? Yeah, it's not down at the bottom where a traditional major arcana name would be. It's here on the side, right? Le Mort. So in this deck, the unnamed card is named, but not where it is normally named, down here, where all the other major arcana cards are named down here. This one, the name is tucked away on the side. So it's still basically the death card, right? It's change. It could be a profound transformation. It could also be eliminating things that block us, right? The figure on the card has a scythe, which is being used to to harvest, to clear out the dross. Well, I'm sorry, this is the card we want to look at, right? To clear out the dross, to harvest. It looks like in this card, actually, that this scythe is going to be cutting this flower, which is interesting. Do you see that flower there? And instead of having the heads of kings and bishops or people down there on the bottom, although it does kind of look like there are a couple of hands. Do you see that? Do you see the hands down there on the ground? They're actually sticking up from the ground. Do you see them? Flesh colored? I see 3 hands. Maybe you can see more. But we don't see any heads or legs or feet, right? And it looks like that scythe is going for that flower, which is interesting because we had the bouquet very well highlighted in the Lenormand spread, right? So maybe this card is actually talking about harvesting of the fortune. Yeah? Cleansing of the stuff that we want to get rid of, but also harvesting. Keeping only the essentials. Eradication of the old to make way for the new as well. Right? And the other card is also sufferings. There are endings of cycles. So we had the change of a cycle and the ending of a cycle. So we've changed and we've ended one cycle. Maybe we're beginning a new cycle as well. That could be part of it. Right? A new cycle of good fortune, of evolution. But we also have that, and harvesting the bounty from that, the blessings. But we also want to make sure that we're giving a little bit of attention to clearing away the negative patterns which we might see arising within us. Yeah? And if we do that, we move on to the three of coins, right? Which could be investments. It could be starting a project, starting a business. It could be first gains from or the product of something that we have created, from a material investment or again what do we call those things? A product that we have put out into the world. But it could also be the decision to do something even though we're not sure what the results are going to be. Yeah? I mean, we've made the decision in the two. We've done the research, we've figured out the path. Now we actually decide to do the thing. And we might be working with other people, and working with other people could be beneficial for us. So as we've done the changes, we notice a change of cycles as we clear away the negative and we harvest that which we have received from the Wheel of Fortune, and we start a new cycle as we've ended the old. We can start doing the work of the new thing that we want to do with good results, I think. Even though we don't know what the results are going to be, we see a positive outlook for the future, I think. Which is interesting because the three oracle cards that we have below these three here seem to tell a different story, but let me show you those three cards right now. Okay, friends, I hope you're going to help me figure this out, because these three cards that you saw, how they work with the previous spreads I'm still at a little bit of a loss. So what you saw from left to right were number 46, which is called the Beggar. You don't see the title on the card itself, but it's called the Beggar. Then you saw card 17, which is the Hawk and the Toad. And then you saw card 52, which is the Cloister. You know what a cloister is, right? It's traditionally especially in the times of Christianity, the monastic people, the brothers and the sisters, the monks and the nuns, in other words, they would live separately, of course. Now it's nuns in one place, brothers in another place. They would live in a cloister. And that would be a place where they have decided to live and not go out of, right? They would not see other people. They would cloister themselves. You know what that means, right? Okay, so that's the last card. And none of what I see in the previous Lenormand spread or the three cards above seems to be pointing towards locking ourselves away. So let's work on this together. Okay, so this is the card that comes up basically beneath the Wheel of Fortune, the Beggar. The side title of this is Misfortune, right? You see an elderly lady here, which is Saturn, aging with the ravages of time, but she's got a golden crutch, a symbol of faith. So she's having trouble, but she's got her faith to lean on, yeah? So, according to Beline, the creator of this deck, this is the dangers of time and aging. Infirmity is possible here. Destitution and solitude are possible here. So, it could be due to poor luck or misfortune or our choices. The sub-astrology, the main astrological body here is Saturn, but there's always a secondary astrological sign to each one of these cards, and the secondary astrology here is also Saturn. So this is Saturn and Saturn together. It's a double whammy Saturn, which gives us what? It gives us the disappointments and the and inertia. Yeah. So inertia being, if we're going, we keep going. If we've slowed down, we keep slowing down. Right. So with positive cards, it could be that the experience is short-lived, but the other cards are not so positive. So there's a potential here for things to go very awry, to not go well. But even according to Belin, there is that idea of choices here. So, what I'm beginning to think now is that what we saw in the Lenormand spread indicated that there were potentials that we want to pay attention to. The card 13 in this tarot deck above, called La Mort, which is death, seems to be pointing towards a harvesting, because it's reacting or responding to the Lenormand spread earlier. But there's also that idea of suffering and needing to clear away the negative, right? For the next evolution card to be possible. So that idea of choices here, I think, is significant. That we have the choice and the ability to avoid what's below here. But it will require attention on our part and choice. Because the next card after that beggar card is this one, the hawk and the toad. Now, which is associated with the moon. The side title is maladie, which is sickness. Now, the description of the card is, you see a European green toad, which is a connection with the darkness and the moon. And above there is a hawk, which connects to the light and the sun. And the hawk carries souls of the dead back to the divine realm, which is wonderful. So we've got the toad for darkness and sickness, and the eagle, which is here to bring light to the darkness, to the sickness, and to carry the souls home. So for Belin, this is a card of illness with the possibility of help, remedy. We have the possibility of help and remedy, and we've got that possibility of help from the Lenormand card from friends, perhaps. Yeah? The sub-astrology for this card is the sun. So we've got a yin-yang, or in Korean, yang idea, feeling here. The sun and the moon. Yin being the passive, the receptive, and yang being the active, the going out there and doing stuff one, right? Or giving. The giver and the active one. So we have that toad and the hawk being those opposites together in this one card. But with Saturn, with another Saturn card, and we've got two Saturn cards here, the problems, even when remedy may return another day. So we've got that idea of negative patterns arising, yeah? Negative maladies arising, even though we're in the midst of this beneficial thing that's going on. So, I mean, it could be physical sickness, but I think right now we're talking about those negative patterns, negative behaviors, which often we fall into and they trip us up. We trip ourselves up with these negative patterns that sometimes will emerge when we're not paying attention. Does that make sense? And so the next card we see right here is what? It's the cloister card. And it's associated with Saturn. The side title is Cloître, which means cloister. You see on the card a gate, which is the portal between worlds, sacred and the profane, for example. The three cannellations on the top of the gate are indications of typical threes like intellectual and spiritual and the order of God. That was what was from the guidebook. Could be the triple goddess. It could be the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit being Sophia, being the divine feminine. So we've got that potential spiritual element above. We've got the gate below, which is a portal. But for Boleyn, this card is renunciation due to depression and searching, or being out of touch with life's realities. Yeah? Not being in touch. So, maybe this card could be, all of this could be a sign of our not really paying full attention when things are going well. Yes? It could be because we're not paying attention that the problems will arise. And our not paying attention could be due to a couple of things. It could be because we're riding high and we've gone unconscious in bliss, or we are riding high and that high feeling gives us anxiety because we're anticipating a fall. Neither one of which are signs that we are actually paying attention to what's right here, right now. So as we stop paying attention to what's really going on right here, those negative things can appear. We could have lost touch with life's realities. Now, this card could also be a hospital or a hospice or a prison. I don't see prison here. It could be a hospital or hospice. Now, the secondary astrology for this card is Jupiter, which is expansive, right? And it also gives authority and order, which reinforces, interestingly, Saturn's limitations. So, according to the creator of this deck, Jupiter with Saturn, Jupiter gives regal power to Saturn's limited construction of limitations. So what do I get from this? I get a couple of things. One, that if we continue to not pay attention, if you or I are one of those people who start feeling anxious at the top of a wave, those anxieties are certainly going to be realized. Not exactly as we imagined, but just the general anticipation of something going wrong will be realized, right? And so I think these three cards below are a warning in the sense of pay attention. Pay attention. If we pay attention, this ride into the hospital, whatever kind of hospital it is, whether it's a ride into an actual hospital, a mental hospital, or a self-imposed solitude of some sort, is going to be unnecessary. But if we don't pay attention, that may be the direction we're going, if that makes sense. But we can avoid this problem. If you saw the Lenormand Spread earlier this week, or I'm not sure, the Lenormand Spread I published earlier, a couple of days before this video will come out. That's what I'm trying to say. Then you'll understand what I'm talking about. There is another way, and that spread describes the other way. The three cards above, I think, show the path of following the path of the advice from the Lenormand Spread. Now, the three cards above aren't the advice. This is the way you can go. The three cards below, I think, are another indication of the lower path of things that could go wrong if we don't pay attention. Does that make sense? I'm not really sure I've seen a spread do this or speak this way before, but that's the way I feel that this spread is speaking to us. I'd like to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Does what I say make sense? Do you have other ideas of what this could mean? I'd love your help. So talk to me in the chat, in the comment section. Talk to me. In just a moment, there will be the QR code for my shop if you want to go take a look at that shop. And thank you, friends. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this this exploration of this spread, because I think I was benefited by your help, by your presence here with this spread with me. Even though it's not at the same time in time-space, it is contemporary in spiritual, the eternal now, right? So thank you for your presence. Thank you very much. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you, and happy holidays.